Last night we had to leave Jepara at midnight with thunderstorm activity, and we basically spent 5 hours just motoring around through all the fish traps and the FADs and all that sort of stuff, and nets and stuff up and down the coast there in Jepara, trying to find somewhere for shelter as thunderstorm cells were sort of forming all around us. So we spent a whole night last night pretty much awake and on deck and trying to, not lose the boat. And we finally got anchored at about 5 AM and dawn sort of came along, and we needed to go north to Karamanjawa, which is an island just north of Jepara on the island of Java. So we spent the day coming across here because we've got a big jump tomorrow, 250 nautical miles to head up north. So we're going to do that next. And we're sitting in the anchorage here at Karamanjawa, and at this time of year it appears that you kind of play Russian roulette. We picked an anchorage that gave us shelter from basically 3/4 of the possible directions, except for east through south, so anything from the southeast would be open to here. And it looks like Jepara is getting smashed with a thunderstorm again. There's thunderstorm activity all around us. All the fishing boats have come running back into the bay. We're in a deep bay with no swinging room. I've got 72 metres of chain out in 15 metres water, and I can't really lay any more because there's just no room behind me. Our buddy boat, Bruce on Astrid, is virtually on top of us. It's literally, there wouldn't be more than 20 metres between our boats. And the wind started coming in from the southeast. Luckily came up only to about 15 knots, and looking at the windy infrared satellite imagery, it's looking like we might just escape this one. I'll give you a look. Have a look. So this is the mainland, or the main coast of Java, the island of Java in Indonesia, and we are out here at Karamanjawa, out here, a small island out here, and we were being smashed around last night at Jepara, and you can see the same thing is happening tonight down here at Jepara. So it's looking like this system is hanging around Jepara, which is not good for them but good for us, and the stuff that's around Karamanjawa up there appears to be breaking up. So right now I'm feeling like we might have got lucky. We might be in the right spot. I certainly hope so, because I need some sleep. I didn't get sleep last night, and we'll be at sea for the next 2 days, 2 nights. So I really need a good sleep tonight to get me through the next 48 hours. It's only 8:30, so fingers crossed things back off. It feels like it's backed off a bit. I think the wind's down to probably under 15 knots now, and swung more into the southwest, which this anchorage has protection for, to a point. If it comes in at 65 knots in front of a big thunderstorm, well, it's probably not an ideal place to be. Some sleep would be nice. Morning, YouTube lurkers. Starlight followers, good morning. So morning's kick off for a 250 nautical mile passage north from Karamanjawa, just north of Java. Beautiful little island, but we only got here yesterday afternoon, and we've been prepping the boat for the passage. We really didn't spend any time here, and with the thunderstorms that were lurking around last night, we didn't go ashore. We stayed on board. Apparently it's a bit of a tourist town, so it's definitely worth a look. I've heard the beaches here are really pretty, and not too hard to get at. You can fly daily into here apparently, not internationally but domestically within Indonesia, and you can stay in the hotels here. It's quite a pretty spot. So anyway, 250 nautical miles. Looks like we've got a tiny little breeze. We're not expecting a lot of wind. In fact, we're expecting a lot of motoring, which is pretty much Indonesia that we've experienced so far. Tank's full. 250 miles. Let's go. It's only 48, 50 hours, something like that, if all goes well. We'll see. Just left Karamanjawa and we've got the sails up. We've got some actual wind. I haven't seen a lot of that in Indonesia. Well, we're getting 16 knots apparent on a beat to windward. We're making 5, so we're probably getting 12, 13 knots of wind at the moment. Just touching 12s by the look of it. So getting a great little sail in. We're actually heading away from our destination right now, but we've got to tack around some reefs and islands and so on. Tan's doing what Tan does best, having a nap. Hello YouTube. And she's just doing, Starlight loves this. She's sitting at about 38 degrees and making 5.5 knots to windward. I'll quickly run you through what the plan is. So this is the island of Karamanjawa, right here. And this is the island of Java, the main Indonesian island. And to the west here is Jakarta. Anyway, if we go north a bit further, this is our destination up here, Belitung, 250 nautical miles, and increasing as we sail south and away from it. We're going to tack and run up through the island shortly and head in that direction. About 250 nautical miles. Should be, well, it depends how fast we go. If we've got a wind, it'll probably be 40 hours or less. If we don't have, it could be 50 or 55 by the time we motor. So a difference of, you know, a full day really, or half a day. Anyway, at the moment we have wind. The forecast is to have wind patchy on and off over the next 2 to 3 days, and then it's going to quit right out. That's why we're rushing to make this passage now while we can, because I don't want to have to motor 250 nautical miles. Fingers crossed on the sailing. We're having a good time, good start. Let's go see what's north. Just did that, the wind died. I've got an autopilot that does most of the work for me, so I can single-handedly tack the boat. And with electric winches, I've never had them before, I love them. Okay, here we go, enough talk. So the autopilot's going to turn 80 degrees through the wind. As she goes through, I'm going to let draw the sheet. There it goes. And then haul it on. To get my turns on nice and quick before it loads up, and I'll let the winch do the work. We don't often film our tacking, no. So luckily that one went smoothly. They don't always go that smooth, but that one was a ripper, so there you go. It's a bit crazy, right? So we're out here on passage on this 300-mile trip, and we've got the sun up here, sort of peeking through the clouds, getting about 10 amps of solar. We're about to go into, well, northeast monsoon rain squall. So I've tucked a reef in just in case, although it's not showing any sign of having a lot of wind associated with it, but I wouldn't trust it. So we've got a reef in already in the main, and if need be, I'll just turn us downwind. I'll reef up some of that head sail, but at the moment we're clocking along at a nice 7.5 knots. A bit of traffic around, not too much, and about 15 knots. 12 to 15 knots of wind. It's about perfect really. But I think we're about to get very, very wet. And, took in a fair bit bit of head sail just to reduce the pressure. The biggest downside of this one is it swung the wind around, so we're no longer making our desired course. But we're not that far off, but we're pointing pretty high. We're 40 degrees on the wind, so we're back to beating again. But I suspect once this squall's passed by, the wind will probably swing back the way it was. Anyway, enjoy a bit of, you know, windy weather. Just like that, 300 miles later, we're in Belitung. So we're heading into the anchorage here at Belitung. It was a pretty rough crossing. That's the reason there's no footage. We didn't really have under 20 knots at really any point. We were beating to windward, most of it, for 220 nautical miles. And for a long sustained period there, for maybe 4 or 5 hours, we had well over 35 knots. Thunderstorms, squalls, gusts, and in amongst all of that, we went through an enormous fishing fleet of squid boats, hundreds of them, maybe even 1,000, I don't know, but a ridiculously stupid amount of squid boats. So no sleep for 2 days and 2 nights. This is our 3rd day underway, and we're just about to anchor, so it's around about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Looking forward to a good sleep. I've been onto a guy who may be able to arrange some diesel fuel for us just to top the tanks before we continue on from here. It's a tourist town, apparently, so we might get to go to a restaurant, maybe, see how we go for time. We may stay for 2 nights if it's really nice. We'll get a good anchorage, see how we go. The engine seems to be playing up just a little bit. It's hard to describe. She's smokier than she should be, and seems to be a bit of a loss of power. It's not a huge amount, but it's noticeable at times, especially when I put it under load and I really need it. So I'm having to run the revs a bit higher than I normally would to keep the boat moving at a pace that's, you know, worth using. But there's only 350 miles to go to Malaysia, so once we get to Malaysia into the marina there, I can get mechanics in and we can give that engine an absolute birthday. I suspect it was poor fuel that we got in Salmalaki and Calabahi. After that, we got the good stuff, but out there in those remote places we couldn't get it. So I suspect it's gummed up the ejectors or something like that. Anyway, we'll let you know what this place is like when we get in there. Belitung. Here at Belitung, and it's really a pretty little spot. We timed it exactly with one of the rallies that's passing through Southeast Asia, so we're one of 14 boats that are here. So it's not exactly quiet, but there's a lot of tourism here anyway, so, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's some tourism here anyway. We're just going to go and check out one of the little islands, then we're going to go onto the mainland, well, the main island, and give our diesel guy back his diesel containers and pay him for the diesel provided for us. People here have been really lovely. It's a beautiful spot, Belitung. Just seen my first monkey in the wild. I mean, I'm sure he's half tame. But
Talking about me now.
yeah. I'm sure he's half tame, but that's very cool, you know. A monkey in the wild. Get out of here. He just looked at me. He didn't want to hang around. A bit like a cat that'd been mistreated. I think this monkey might have been mistreated at some point too. Poor fella. Apparently there's up ahead of us, there's a little swimming lagoon in a cave or something. So we're going to check that out. This is beautiful. Bruce is leading the way. Bruce, our buddy boat from Astrid. This is more like Papua New Guinea. Yeah. You just walk back off the beach and you're in rainforest.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh,
Come on, come on. Taruh, taruh.
terima kasih. We go bar, go restaurant. Ding 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 ding. Up.
So this is a little bar we spent time in last night. We had a great time. Just a little Indonesian touristy resty monkey bar on the front. This is the boss man Eddie. Eddie's helped sort out some diesel for us today. So we got 100 litres. So Eddie's your man to see if you come to Belitung. Him and his boss Evan.
Okay, good.
Yeah, now I've got to give you some money.
Okay.
So there we go. Whew.
Okay.
Thank you, Eddie. Good on you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we're just going to go and check out a different restaurant and have some lunch. The one thing around here is that the food is pretty cheap and pretty good too. So yeah, welcome to Asia, where you don't pay ridiculous amounts of money to eat in a restaurant. These are all the dinghies from the yachts that have come on the rally. They've gone for a day tour today in the bus or something, so I'm sure they've had an awesome time. But I think there's all up about 13 yachts here at the moment. It's the most we've seen in any one place. Look, it hasn't been crowded. You could easily get another 10 or 20 other yachts out here. And it kind of just adds a little bit of life to the place, you know, having more yachts around, lots of new faces to talk to.